Welcome to the AJ Plus Arabi takeover of AJ Plus English. You may have heard that we have a new sibling, AJ Plus Arabi, the Arabic service of AJ Plus, and we're having a party to celebrate this brand new channel. And we've invited a few of our friends, a few of the AJ Plus friends, the kind of people who are changing the Middle East, the young people who are pushing this region in a new direction. I want to introduce you to a few of them and to tell you a little bit about AJ Plus at this party that we're having here. But I'm going to introduce you first to a few people behind the scenes at AJ Plus. I want to introduce you to Nicholas Khoury. He's our satirist. He presents this show right here, which is Salit Al-Ikhbari. So I'm going to drag him over here. He was trying to go out for a cigarette, but we're not going to let him. Nicholas! Okay, let's go over and find him, because he has been avoiding us. He's been avoiding AJ Plus English at all costs, but we will get him. He's right over here. So Nicholas Khoury is our resident comedian, who is going to perform on demand. When I click my fingers, he will make a joke. Nicholas? Hi. Welcome to AJ Plus English.
Hi. How are you? I'm the comedian of AJ Plus Arabic. I'm the male Arabic version of Francesca, and I hate Donald Trump. I hate him, but I love Sahar.
These are the personal views of Nicholas Khoury and not of AJ Plus. Thank you very much, Nicholas. We will come back and chat to you in a little bit. We're going to take some questions from our audience about comedy in the Arab world. We have another couple of comedians who you might be interested in. Surprise guests, possibly. Yeah. We'll see them in a little bit. But
you'll be so surprised.
In fact, I'm going to take you to meet another comedian. His name, he is right over here. He's Ahmed Al-Bashir. Now, he presents a show that we called on AJ Plus English, we called it the Daily Show of Iraq, fairly or unfairly. I want to take you to introduce him in just a second. But first of all, this is a little bit of a hero. Her name is Farah Shamba. She is a spoken word poet.
Hello.
Hi, Farah. Farah is a spoken word poet from Palestine. Tell us about your work. How did you become a spoken word poet? I mean, it's quite a rare thing in the Arab world, isn't it?
I think so. Well, it started off by writing, of course. You first start writing, and then as soon as I found a platform to perform, which was poeticians, a little group run by a very beautiful woman called Hintu Fani. Met with them, and I was 16 back then, and she told me, this is 18 plus, we don't want you to be there. But then she's like, since you're here, just come in and perform. And I did, and I never stopped. I started performing, like reading off a paper, and then it started becoming more spontaneous, and one event would lead to another one, and then I got into theater and stuff like that.
How important is it to give young Arabs a voice? How important do you think spoken word is to help Arabs express themselves?
I think we all want to express ourselves. We all kind of sometimes need to express ourselves. And the more the platforms, the better. I mean, and in any, and I think in any, it's very human to want to express yourself. And I mean, rap that comes out of Syria now, for example, is very strong, is very real, is very raw. And not only because it's Syria, but it's just a way of telling a story, saying what's happening. So I just believe we want it anywhere.
Do you think art, conflict, violence, exile, that almost inspires art in a way?
I think so. I mean, I usually think art is our way of dealing with this ugliness of the world and of trying to transform it into something beautiful. So maybe, I don't know how true that is, but the uglier it is, the more beautiful, the more powerful our art is. Because we don't want to break in front of what's happening to us. We want to keep transforming these ugly happenings in some way.
How did you develop from becoming a poet into becoming a spoken word poet, and what direction what have you ended up in now? Because I think you've even gone further than spoken word.
Yeah, well, it started off by the audience feeling that, oh, this is what it's about, really. It's not about me being on stage, it's about talking to someone, looking them in the eye. And then I started feeling like I want something more musical. I want to work with other artists, not only be the artist and be on stage alone. So I started working with musicians, and I've been working with 3 lovely musicians for the past year now. Ali, Marwan and Mulham. So we formed a little band called 600 Seconds, and we do spoken word music. So it's really about connecting to people and creating together. So I think this is what it's about. It's a very together process, and it changes. It keeps changing. I don't know what to expect next, but I just know it's not a strict art form that is just there to.
How spontaneous is your poetry? Can you create a poem? Can you create a spoken word poem on demand?
Not really. I mean, it depends on how spontaneous the event is, or it happened a couple of times, but it doesn't always happen.
Okay. So if I put you on the spot and get our audience to give you some topics, how would you feel about me embarrassing you into doing some live spoken word poetry?
I would just leave, I think, but
we have very good security at the door. You're trapped.
Oh no.
We have some questions from our audience that might be a bit easier for you to answer. So first of all, we've got a question: how is art changing the world? Do you think it is changing the world? Can it change the world?
I think it's always been there, so I don't know if it's there to change the world. I think it's just a way to react to the world. That's what I think. It's always been there. We always want to make something, and I really think it's not about change. It's just about dealing with things. That's why there's art therapy. It's not to change you, it's to help you deal with yourself better, understand you and what's around you better.
It's a form of expression.
I think so.
A way of dealing with the things that are happening.
Because I stopped believing that I have a message and I want to deliver a message.
Yeah.
It's kind of preachy art. I'm not into that anymore. I'm more into the genuine experience of sharing a story, telling your story. I think that's what it's all about.
Another question: how does politics figure into your poetry? Do you get influenced by the politics around you? Does it make an appearance?
Not really. Even though my first 2 Arabic poems, the ones that kind of were watched the most, were seen as very political. But I never felt that I was very political mind. I just tell a story. I'm very literary. But I mean, our stories could be very linked to politics. I mean, what happens to me in the embassy is a very political happening, but it's also very personal. So I think I start from a very personal place that could be political because I'm a human and politics affects me. But I don't think of politics separately. You know, I don't feel like my mind works like that.
Farah, stay with us.
I will.
Just to let you know where we are at a party to celebrate AJ Plus Arabi, the newest member of the AJ Plus family. We've got a lot of different things going on right now. Right now, our boss and managing director, Dima Al-Khatib, is over in the far corner. You might not be able to see her, but she's over there testing people's Arabic. Now, you can see it up on the big screen right behind me, up here. The trick is, the Arab world has a problem. We have a problem with language. And Farah might be able to help me explain this. Farah, so what's going to test? We're seeing how long people can speak in the Arabic language before they go into French and English.
Like say some words. Yeah.
Why in the Arabic language do we have this problem? Why do we end up inserting foreign words? Why do we rely on foreign words in a way that other languages maybe don't?
Because they're very widespread. Words like social media and network, and we're used to speaking in English, so our mind just throws in an English word. It just needs some training, I think, and it's, you get it out of your system. Yeah.
Perfect. Farah, thank you so much. We're going to come back to you and surprise you in a little bit with
Surprise me?
with a poetry on demand request that you're going to run away from. But we'll come back to you in a bit. We have Ahmed Shahabuddin, who is waiting in the wings right behind the camera. Ahmed, welcome to AJ Plus Arabi of AJ Plus English. We're having a little party here to celebrate the newest member of the AJ Plus family. Ahmed is a journalist, Palestinian pan-Arab journalist.
Yes, that
with
is correct.
Connections and roots across the Arab world.
Yes, many connections.
What does AJ Plus Arabi mean? How important is this? What do you think it can do for the region?
Well, I mean, that's a loaded question, but it's a good question. I think that's what we're all wondering. I think that if you look at, the Arab world, there's a huge disconnect between the way people consume media in terms of generational gaps, and also, the fact that Twitter is so prevalent in certain countries where there's a lot of repression, a lot of resistance around freedom of expression, for example, in Saudi. So I think this is kind of in some ways the formalizing of what we've been witnessing for a few years, which is that the youth, particularly in the Arab world, have already kind of been engaged in what AJ Plus is trying to accomplish, which is to kind of change the narrative, not just in the region, but in the media in general. So, I mean, it can only be a positive thing, and I think it's nice to see a company like Al Jazeera really invest not only in digital, but in pushing the boundaries around what is acceptable in terms of, the narrative that we're all trying to shift, or at least the perceptions we're trying to shift.
And you've played a big part in trying to shift that narrative in the US.
Perhaps, I don't know. Maybe.
How important do you think it is in the US, for example, to give a more authentic Arab voice to what's happening in the Middle East, rather than just American faces and American voices?
You mean AJ English then? AJ Plus English?
Well,
yeah.
no, I mean what you've been doing specifically. How important is it to be that Arab voice, to go on cable news channels? And
what is Arab? Beyond just this abstract notion that it's something to be suspicious of, Arab or Muslim or what have you. And so I think to have people who are very authentically Arab, but also bridging that gap, not just between West and East, but between kind of the value system that for, I think, sadly, the better part of a decade we've been told, the West and the East and Islam and the West and Arabs and the West are incompatible, that there's something inherently incompatible about the Arab world and the Muslim world when it comes to the West, and so it's nice to see people doing that in a kind of, as I said, formalized way, because I think it was happening. You started to see connections between certain disparate groups, people who were fighting for the same cause, people who cared a lot about human rights, people who wanted to challenge kind of the status quo, and to see it kind of become more formalized in the context of AJ Plus in English or in Arabic or in Spanish is exciting, right? That's what the internet was supposed to do, to be a global village. And
exactly.
Here we are.
We've got a question for you from our audience. Do you think that US audiences really understand the challenges that young people in the Middle East face?
No, I don't at all. And the reason I'm kind of so emphatic about it is because for too long we've not been telling our own stories, and we've been relying on the mainstream media, which tend to focus on everything through the lens of violence and terrorism and sectarianism, and that's important. On the flip side, it's very easy in the Arab world for a lot of the youth. I just came from Egypt. I was in Beirut recently, and we often blame things on the West. We often blame things on colonialism in the past, and there's a sense of nostalgia. And there's kind of a general kind of, not hopelessness, but this notion that nothing's ever going to change here. And I think the reason is that we keep getting bombarded with the same messages, And so now, as a journalist who's worked as an Arab American in the American media market, oftentimes when I pitch a story that doesn't have a lot to do with ISIS, or it doesn't have a lot to do with terrorism or sectarianism, or these kind of hot button issues that we're so accustomed to framing the Arab world in, there's not a lot of interest. And I mean that from the media establishment. Whereas, when I talk to my friends, just being an American and Arab myself, and living there and working there and going out there, there's so much curiosity, and so many people want to know more beyond, the norms of what's discussed, which is like how women dress, and the kinds of religious sermons that come out of this region, and what does it mean, and how, what is political Islam? Aren't we tired of listening to these same old stories, coming to the same conclusions? so in general, you know, the connectivity that comes with how AJ Plus produces content. I think it's a huge opportunity to kind of tell the stories that actually might reflect a more authentic view of not just like, you know, it's not about good stories, you know, this notion of like solution-oriented journalism. No, it's about stories that accurately reflect the tensions, the polarization in society that go beyond religion and that go beyond all the things that we're so accustomed to hearing about. You know, like culture. How about the very rich culture that the Arab world has? Yeah.
Stay with us, Ahmed. We are at a party to celebrate AJ Plus Arabi, the brand new member of the AJ Plus family. I want to hear your questions. If you've got questions for any of our guests, please add them into our comments. And Ahmed, do you think that, you know, we focused a lot on you know, changing perspectives in America, in the West, about the Middle East? Do you think it's also important to, like you said, to take the voices from Twitter and from Facebook, the young voices that haven't had a platform, that have been ignored by mainstream channels with their very, you know, suited and booted looks, to give those young people a platform to help them direct their own future and change the region themselves?
In the Arab world?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the amazing thing is this has been happening for more than a decade, not just since the advent of the internet, but since we've seen penetration and kind of access to the internet increase. And for as much as there's been a trend of like repression after the Arab revolutions, I mean, I was just in Egypt, and you know, it's been a while since I'd been there, since 2012, and granted, you know, I was in certain pockets where, you know, there's also class issues, and there's, again, so many complexities around the different identities of how people perceive themselves to be Arab. And I think, yeah, I mean, I think it's important, but beyond it being important, it's kind of natural. So it's nice to see companies kind of tapping into what's naturally already happening, which is you're seeing a lot of youth in Lebanon and Egypt and Yemen connecting around issues that, again, aren't just about those kind of main topics that we're accustomed to discussing, whether from a Western perspective or in the region. So, I mean, I feel like you can't go wrong when you do those kinds of things, and it's a natural thing that's happening. It's you know, AJ Plus in some ways has been revolutionary, but in another way, it's kind of just, I don't want to say being reactive, but it's kind of reacting to the natural progression of how the youth in the region are kind of pushing back against this authoritarian, top-down, very central approach, not just to media, but culture. Can you even hear us now? Because it's my jam, so I have to go jam. But you know what I mean.
Perfect. Ahmed, thank you so much for talking to us. Good to see you.
Yeah.
I'll see you again soon.
Now we're going back to take over the world with AJ Plus.
Okay, so I want to show you a few of the shows that you can expect on AJ Plus Arabi. Come with me over here. I'm going to take you around a little tour of what you can expect on AJ Plus Arabi. So this is, over here, this is Salit Al-Akhbari, which is our satire show. It's a little bit like The Daily Show, and it's Nicholas Khoury's program where he rips apart the politics and the chaos and the mess of the Arab world through humour. So it's a brilliant show. You need to check that out if you can speak Arabic. Then around here, we've got this issue with the Arabic language, where we mix Arabic and English, where we put French words into the Arabic language, where there are so many dialects that are really so very, very different to each other that, you know, even people from the west and east of the Arab world may have difficulty understanding each other. So we have this show here, Ma'na Ma'na, which means with us, the meaning, and we pick an Arabic word from one of the dialects and play it to people in the street and ask them to explain what it means, and often they have absolutely no idea. So, let me remind you, we are at a party to celebrate AJ Plus Arabi, the brand new channel from AJ Plus, which is bringing and giving young people from across the Middle East a voice and giving them a platform. And we've invited some of those exciting young people here to this party to celebrate this new. And if you want to ask any questions to these guys as we go along, feel free to do that. But before we do that, Ala is here. Ala is one of our AJ Plus Arabi producers and presenters. Tell us about this evening and what's been happening.
Well, it was a nice evening today. We had a lot of guests. We had a problem that we spoke only in Arabic, and sometimes English words are just now they're in Arabic too. Like we have this Arabi words, so it was difficult for us to speak only in Arabic. So today we met a lot of people, a lot of YouTubers and activists on Facebook, and also met new artists, new people. We got to know. We got to see what's going on in AJ Plus Arabi. We're having new shows. We're having it's a new start now. Ramadan is coming up, so we're having some new shows, and we spoke about it. So yeah.
Excellent, Anna.
Thank you. Thank
Great.
you so
Good
much.
to speak to you. Right. We are. The music is getting louder and louder, so bear with us. I hope you can still hear us. We're going to go and go right into the chaos, and I want to grab Dima, who's our boss, who leads AJ Plus, who's the one who's helped create AJ Plus Arabi. This is Dima. Make sure I don't lose my job during this live. This is Dima Al-Khatib, journalist, reporter, presenter, and now
I'm about
boss.
to take a picture with everyone who participated in this beautiful evening. AJ Plus Arabi is going to rock. They're calling me. I'll be back.
That's Dima Al-Khatib. She's gonna talk to us a little bit in a little bit. She was, of course, a reporter from South America who helped to bring the news from South America and news about South America to an Arab audience, and now she's helping to bring young voices together. That's my colleague Mu'min, who's dragging people across the room.
I'm really sorry. I'm
Mu'min,
really sorry.
You're live on Facebook on AJ Plus English.
Hello everyone.
Tell us about the evening. What's
It was
happening?
awesome. It was crazy. It was different. It was new.
It is new.
It's the
AJ Plus-
first,
AJ Plus
first time in
Arabi.
the Namina area. First time.
So Mu'min is very excited because we've got an incredible 8-camera setup. So we've got this jib camera on a crane. We've
technology, and we got Sakhar, and we got Khaira. So the best thing in AG Plus here is them two here. Love.
So the AJ Plus Arabi setup that they've got here, they're doing a Facebook Live on their channel. Don't watch it yet. Stay with us. But they've got one of the first ever Facebook Lives with a multi-camera setup. But let's photobomb this right now. Let's jump into the middle of this photo. What's going on here? This is a group photo with everyone who's involved in AJ Plus Arabi. And we now have our pick of the audience. We can grab anyone we want. I think we will get Dima. I want to talk to Dima. So come with me over here. If you've got any questions about what AJ Plus Arabi can do, what it can lead to, how if it can create social change, get those in. But first of all, Afra Nasser is with us. Hello.
He follows me and I follow him.
We follow each other on Twitter. We're big Twitter fans of each other.
Yes.
Afra, you're Yemeni
Yes.
and you're living in Sweden. You're a journalist. Tell us about first of all why you're in Sweden.
I'm in Sweden because of the political escalation in Yemen. To begin with, I got death threats for my own writings, anti-regime writing during the 2011 uprising in Yemen. And because of that, and because of how the things have dramatically got worse and worse in Yemen.
How do you think your work, you're writing in the Swedish language as well as Arabic and English. How do you think that, communicating your message as a young Yemeni writing in Swedish to the Swedish people, how can that change things?
Well, I don't specifically target the Swedish audience. My main target audience is really just the international community. So anyone, even in Mexico, can read something about Yemen that maybe can transform their misconception about Yemen, or they can even know anything about Yemen that they didn't know about Yemen. As you know, that Yemen is really underrepresented in the mainstream media. So to write about Yemen, for me, that's even like a baby step to bring Yemen into the discussion in the media. So what I think that the difference or the message that I can bring to, say, the Swedish audience or the international audience is really just to humanize what is Yemen, because most of the time when I talk to people, like, they don't know where Yemen is on the map. So for me, it's really just to introduce Yemen and to put a human face to this country.
What kind of misconceptions do you hear? Like, what kind of misunderstandings and crazy thoughts about Yemen do people have?
I understand people can have ignorance because maybe they don't read, or maybe they don't really follow the news, or they simply don't care. But like some of the things that I find it extremely funny that they don't know even like what it is. So like one of the recent like incidents that I had when someone asked me in Sweden, where do you come from? And I said I come from Yemen. And then they asked me like, where is that? And I said it's next to Saudi Arabia. And they started to like say like, Jesus Christ, like as if it's a disease or something, or so. And I laughed at that at that situation. But I understand this is like a similar pattern that I find in different places and with different people, and it's not specifically to Sweden or to that lady who said so. So yeah, that's funny but sad also.
We've got a question from our audience. How is social media bringing the youth from different countries together? Do you think it's bringing people closer, helping to get rid of those misconceptions?
Well, I think what internet does, it's a very democratic tool for a lot of communities, and internet is a neutral tool. You can use it for something good or bad, or like depending how much you use it, or to what purpose you use it. But for me, it's a great space where people can connect, and like I can't think of a life before internet.
Do you think young people on Twitter, for example, understand Yemen? Young people in Sweden who are active on Twitter and Facebook, do you think they understand Yemen more than an older generation that isn't socially connected?
Well, hopefully, yeah. But when it comes to Sweden in specific, Twitter is not like a popular platform. What is popular is Instagram. And maybe we need more input about Yemen on Instagram. So it's very different from one country to another, and what is popular in one country to another. So I keep that in my mind. But for me, what is convenient is really to blog, and I try my best to put content in different platforms, and I'm still learning and trying my best.
We've got another question. What do you think the future is? A big question. What's the future of journalism in the Middle East? Does it have a future?
I think in the Middle East or internationally, journalism will always be there, and you like when you think about it, like it's an integral part of our daily life. You need to hear what your neighbor is doing, and that usually through some kind of medium. It can be through another friend who's telling you a story about your neighbor. And that, for me, that's the essence of journalism, is telling stories. And as long as there are people, there will always be stories. So, of course, journalism will always be there. And it's up to us to be as creative as we want and as we can in telling those stories. It can be with one word, with one picture, with one tweet, with one post, with one hashtag. Like, it's up to you.
Loads of really interesting questions coming in. Another one. Now, you obviously live in Sweden, but the question is, how do you deal with censorship? The Arab world is not, journalistically, is not as free as the West. A lot of state control. How do you deal with that censorship?
Censorship where?
Censorship of Arab media.
Of Arab media?
Yeah.
Well, I think the topics that I write about usually are about human rights issues, and as the situation now, it's really about like a matter of life or death. Like people are starving to death. So we're talking about like really basic human rights. I'm not talking about like LGBT community rights. I'm not talking about sex before marriage. I'm not talking about those issues. I'm talking about like basic human rights issues, and that is most like that's often not very controversial. But when it comes to censorship, I would say a lot of things happening here, and I can't really focus.
There's so much going on here.
Yeah,
sorry, Afra.
it's very overwhelming.
People are really excited by the idea of journalism in the Middle East, and especially by, I think, the fact that you're a young Arab giving an authentic Arab voice. So we've got another question. Which social media platform is being used by young people in the Middle East? What do you think is the most effective tool for young people to communicate with each other?
It's different from one country in the Middle East to another. So the Middle East is not one like block, one country. It's diverse. Even in each country, there are different communities, people who have access to internet and people who don't have access to internet. So it's different from which country we're talking about.
Afra, it's been amazing talking to you. Thank you so much.
Same as here. Thank you.
Our audience has clearly been very interested to talk to you, so thank you for your time. So just a reminder, we are at the AJ Plus Arabi party. AJ Plus Arabi is the newest member of the AJ Plus family. We've brought together a whole bunch of young people to celebrate this brand new channel. The young people that hopefully AJ Plus Arabi will be able to give a voice to and a platform to. So, and one of those young people is Mr. Gregory Eid, who is one of the creative inspirations that we work with every day.
We try our best every day, you know. The most creative, but we try.
Tell us what you've been doing here tonight. What's been happening here tonight?
Well, actually, we were kind of live for this social event, and I was working in the regie, they call it, like the studio, to let everything go with the flow, you know, like we had the rundown, and we tried as best as we can to have everything like flow as easy as possible. Yeah.
And tell us what's been happening on stage. We've had, a lot of interesting performances, a lot of interesting things happening. How does what's happened tonight, what does that say about AJ Plus?
Well, actually, it was kind of a chance to introduce some of the new people, the new shows that we will be filming, we'll be working on, and we'll try to put as much creative input. Actually, we introduced a lot of comedians like Omar Hussein, and we have already Nicolas Khouri, who has the Salit Al-Ikhbari, which is a show about the news that's happening during a week, and he makes them in a funny way, in a smooth way, so that the young generation will try to understand it, try to engage with it in a way or so.
Thank you so much, Greg.
Thank you.
And thanks for your work tonight. It's been an excellent show. So we're at the AJ Plus Arabi party to celebrate this brand new channel, and I want to introduce you to two people who are standing right here. First of all, let's go around the back right here. This is Omar Hussein, one of the hosts of tonight's show. Omar,
what's up?
You're live on Facebook on AJ Plus English.
All right, so we're doing English now.
We're doing in English.
All
You're
right,
allowed
cool.
to speak English.
Ah, sweet.
For now,
sweet.
Dima might kill me for speaking English. I'm surprised Dima hasn't attacked me for speaking English.
No, is this live?
This is live.
Are we getting hearts? Can we have hearts, please? Can we have a lot more hearts? Thank you. Facebook Live, they got hearts at Facebook.
Yes, they do.
Give
Lots
us
of
hearts.
Lots of hearts, please. Lots of love. Okay, what's up?
So Dima's allowing me to speak English, which is very generous of her.
Well, this is AJ Plus English, isn't it?
It is.
Then I'm allowing it.
We've had a long discussion about the Arabic language. We've seen Bila Arabi Ma'a Dima in Arabic with Dima, where she's been testing people's Arabic skills. But oh wow, this is so meta. This is like two lives going each way.
This is videoception.
This is
I'm recording the live. I'm on AJ Plus Live now. Hi, Mom. What's up? My mom doesn't watch AJ Plus. I'm sorry, actually.
Why? Why aren't you watching? Get her to watch.
She doesn't have Facebook.
Okay. We can make an exception for your mom.
Yes. She's on Apple. No, she's not on Apple either. Never mind.
Oh dear. Okay. Well, she's not on Apple. She's not on Facebook. That's okay. Omar Hussein, I want to tell our English-speaking audience a little bit about you. You're a YouTube star, huge in Saudi Arabia. I've heard a rumor from someone very close to me who's standing right here that you can't walk through the streets of Jeddah without being mobbed by adoring fans who want to take selfies with you?
Oh wow. I like to think of it as, within social media you just get a lot of friends. And so
are they real friends or
actually real friends?
do they become real friends?
Oh, in a digital sense, yes. So I recognize the avatar, I recognize the name, I recognize their comments, and so I recognize and this person is always engaging. Like it, kind of a friendship. We don't have dinner together, but it's a friendship.
What do you say to people who think that these friendships that you make online? Obviously, you've got a lot of following online. That they can't be real friendships. Do you think as our generation has developed to a stage where we blur the boundary between virtual and real?
Oh, that's a really deep question. I don't have a deep answer for that. But yes, lots of friends on social networks, that's happening. I think it does get a little bit confusing sometimes, especially with people who have an identity crisis because there's someone online and they're not that same person in real life. And you see them sometimes in the comments, they're a lot more aggressive in comments, while in real life they might be a little less aggressive. But I'm not sure why we're talking about aggressive comments now.
I don't know how this happened. Don't give us any aggressive comments
hearts
tonight. Only hearts.
Give us some love.
Give us the hearts. We've got a question about comedy in the Arab world.
Comedy, yes.
What kind of challenges do you face as a comedian in the Arab world? Is it very different to being a comedian, say, for example, in America?
Okay. Well, this is amazing because you can't. The Arab, since we have English, viewers, so the Arab world cannot be compared to America because within the Arab world you have so many different cultures. And then within one country, so we're in Saudi Arabia, within Saudi Arabia, you have so many cultures. So your sense of humor that could work in one part of Saudi may not work in another part. And then there are elements that do work all across of Saudi. And then there are elements that work at the GCC, elements that work at Levant. So it is so diverse, and that's beautiful because you can get so many angles of doing comedy. I think there are cultural barriers within creating content within the Arab world. Most of those barriers I'm okay with, and having barriers makes it more challenging and it challenges you to be more creative. So one of the things that I recognize in areas that do not have any limitations, they immediately go to slapstick comedy, to overly sexualizing content, and that's fine, but where's the creativity in it?
You break a lot of taboos. You take a lot of risks.
Yeah.
How scary is that? How risky is that for you as a comedian in Saudi Arabia?
It is, I think, again, we have English-speaking, viewers. This is amazing. Saudi has a lot more freedom than people believe. So if I put all the Arabic countries in a list, Saudi is, in terms of freedom of expression, and even in terms of expressing your political views, is somewhere in the top of, it's not on the top, but it's in the top of the list. I don't want to make it awkward for other countries, and we have established that freedom by the content that we created. And I think because of this new wave of content or platforms and the new generation of leadership as well, they understand that we need to have a better range of freedom of expression. Did I answer that?
I think so.
What are the comments saying? Are the comments saying
we've got
that?
so many questions about you. A lot of people are asking what kind of issues you deal with, and what are the issues that young Saudis care about? What are you dealing with, and what do young Saudis care about?
Well, it's all about the camels, right? So no, it's not. It's not. I think I'm a little bit older, but I'll just say our generation, globally, we care about the same thing, right? So we're all concerned about the environment. We're all concerned about the refugee crisis that's global. We're all concerned about animal rights. Some countries are more than other countries when it comes to that. But what we need to understand, having these platforms really puts us in direct contact with each other. So today, if I want to know something about Russia, I'll just click online and I'll see what Russian people are saying. And we pretty much care about the same thing. Obviously, we have some concerns that are customized to us. So for example, we have a little bit of focus on what women can do and can't do. So, but if you think about it globally, there is that concern. So in the Western world, they have an issue with the glass ceiling. We're not there yet, but again, globally, there's an issue with women. What can they do and what can't they do, right?
I think so. I think
Okay.
so. So many questions coming in. Where do you get your comedic inspiration?
Childhood. I got bullied a lot, and I used to cry a lot in the corner.
Was humor? So humor is your defense.
I think I was lucky to be exposed to different industries when it comes to work. And in terms of life, I've lived in a few countries, and that exposure makes you look at things differently. So you have a different eye. So when I'm in the States or the UK, I look at things differently, but also when I'm back home in Saudi or other countries, I look at things differently. And that gives you liberty. A comedian should be someone who's observant. You should observe something. That's pretty deep. Yeah, a comedian is someone who's observant. That is, yeah, that's philosophical, right? Hearts, lots of hearts.
We're getting lots of hearts coming in. You said that you've lived in a lot of countries. Do you find it significantly easy to be a comedian in the UK or US versus the Arab world?
No, because it's all been done in the UK and the US, and obviously with great comedians and the whole history. But however, it's kind of a responsibility in our part of the world to create content and to do comedy and all that, to build whatever industry is growing in terms of comedy. So I'm more comfortable, I believe, in even doing the shows. While if you go to a mature market like the States, it's a mature. That is so deep. It's a very mature and saturated market. However, Saudi is a very young and aspiring market, and everyone's hungry for good content. So it's exciting, and you get to work with a lot of people. You get to compete with a lot of people, and it's good for all of us.
Perfect, Omar. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great to speak
Hearts.
to you.
Can I heart?
How many hearts?
Follow
have we
me
got?
on Facebook.
How many hundreds?
Did I get 10?
I
10
think
is
we've got
fine.
some hearts.
I mean, relative
More
to
than
my
10.
life, 10 is
11?
good.
We'll settle on 11.
A lot. 13. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Omar.
Thanks, guys.
Nice
Take
to
it
meet
easy. Yeah.
You too. And I think that just about wraps it up from us. Thank you so much for watching. We have been at a party for AJ Plus Arabi, which is the latest language addition to AJ Plus. Make sure you go onto their page, like them, subscribe to them. Keep watching AJ Plus English. Make sure you also start watching AJ Plus Arabi. From this party to celebrate AJ Plus Arabi, thank you and good night.